How's it going? Getting this year's water chestnut crop ready, and I just thought I'd bring you along and show you how I'm potting them up to begin with. What we have here is basically just water chestnuts that have started to sprout. Now, I'm not going over the top this year, I have in previous years. All I'm doing is planting 8. And these 8 will be going into a bathtub. Probably about 3/4 of a bathtub is going to be set up just for these guys. And the last quarter of the bathtub I'm going to plant out some Kang Kong, because it's also a water loving plant. So just to get these guys started, they've been sitting in some water and have decided to sprout a bit early. We've had a bit of warm weather here. So what I've decided to do is pot them up a little bit early. In this bucket here I have some leftover garden mix, and also from when we moved one of the wicking beds, and also a couple of scoops of some scratchings from the chicken yard. I've taken out a whole heap of compost from there lately, or the floor of the chicken yard, sieved it out, gotten all the large chunks out, and I'm using that to fertilise some of the beds and plantings. So some of that's gone in here as well. All I pretty much will have to do now is just cover these guys up, and they can sit in a tray of water for a little while, just with a base in a tray of water, and they'll pretty much all be ready to go out, I'd say, when the bathtub's ready. But besides that, probably about 2 to 3 weeks time. I could plant these guys straight out into the bathtub, but it's just not ready at the moment, so I see no point in doing a rush job getting the bathtub set up. I figure I've grown them like this in the pots before and then transplanted them, so start them off this way, and that way they'll be well and truly ready to go into the bathtub. So we'll pick it back up as I get the bathtub ready to plant these guys out in a couple of weeks time. Well, it's a little bit over 2 weeks. It's more like 2 months and a few weeks, but anyway, they're all nice and happy in there. But I think they're yellowing a little bit, so they're more than eager to get out and spread their roots, I think. The new home is just here in this bathtub. It's just in front of the new hoop house. This is what was sort of holding us up. In this pot, I'll be putting some Kang Kong up that end of the bed. The reason I'm putting the Kang Kong in a pot is because I've seen in the aquaponics that it can actually get rather invasive root-wise. It's taken over probably about 1/3 to 1/2 of one of our grow beds in the aquaponics, so definitely want to try and keep it isolated or contained in this bathtub. So now all it's a matter of doing is filling it up with soil, filling it up with some water, and away we go. Just to show you the soil I'll be using, it's coming straight from this bed here. This bed needs to be removed. I've got plans for this area just in front here. So I'm going to use the soil from this bed here, and I'm going to add some of our CBM organic fertilizer that we buy. Also too, I'm going to be adding some chicken-based fertilizer called, it goes by a few names here, Dynamic Lifter and Rooster Booster, a couple of brands. So from here it's going to be pretty easy, so I'll get cracking, fill up the tub, and we'll plant these guys out. Rightio, just down here at the Aquaponics, and this is the Kang Kong I'll be removing and planting out. A couple of clips ago I broke a few sections off from this little plant over down in here, and I just shoved it in here. It was one of the aquaponic update clips, and as you can see it's taken off quite nicely, so I'm just basically going to be pulling this guy out. Some of the roots will stay behind, no doubt, and this is what's going to be planted into the new little bed. So that's all potted out now, and I've just given it a really hard haircut just to alleviate some of the stress. But I think it should come good. This stuff is pretty hardy. So there we go. Now to filling up the tub with the soil. So I've raided this bed and grabbed as much soil as I could, a little bit left over, and filled up the bathtub. It's actually a little bit fuller than it should be. The first time we grew water chestnuts in a bathtub, the soil settled a bit, so I've added a little bit extra. So all I'm doing now is just saturating it so I can get ready to plant these guys out. The bed's in a nice bit of shade now, which is great because I don't like planting out in full sun. So I'm just going to wait for this to saturate totally, and then I'll plant them out. And in the meantime, I'm just going to try and tie back this shade cloth that will cause a few issues brushing up against the reeds all the time. So I'll get to that while this saturates. So that's pretty much all the layout I'm going to use. I've just got a trowel to dig these guys in because it's a little bit muddy down in there. Just to show you that these guys really well and truly should have been planted out a while back. Once the shoots get to about, 4 inches to 100 mil, they're ready to go out. And just to note, this one also comes with a bonus marigold, so it'll be interesting to see if he survives in here. So there's nothing really to planting them out. It's just a matter of making a hole, trying not to damage the roots too much. As you can see, there's a nice little corm forming there, another little corm there, and I don't know There we go, there's another little baby one just there. So very interesting. Just a matter of parting this aside, popping this in, and away we go. This will all settle, like I said, over time. So that's one in. Try not to hurt my marigold friend here. This one comes complete with compost worm, so he'll like the horse manure in there, I think. So, or we might abandon the trowel. So there we go. That's pretty much all it. Not too hard. It's not rocket science. And I think these guys should do really, really well. And hopefully in upcoming garden walk around clips you're going to see a forest of water chestnuts in here. I did get them in a little bit late this year, but you know, them's the breaks. I think there's still enough of the warm season here for these guys to have a great growing season. Just to show you down here, we still have a little bit of water pooling on the edge there. That'll soak in, not a problem, into the media in the bed, the soil and the manures and those bits and pieces. You really don't want standing water, or at least in our climate, standing water laying around. Mosquitoes will breed in there and you'll end up with all sorts of problems. So what I tend to do is I water this, or in the past I water the water chestnuts so the water is just over the top of the surface, and then within 12 to 24 hours that is all absorbed and used up by the bed, and you don't have the problems with the mosquitoes breeding in it. One problem I have found though is ants, and ants are fairly easy to take care of. All you need to do is flood the bed, just keep the water over the top of the soil for 24 hours, and that pretty much will forces all the ants out. I'm pretty happy with the way it's gone. I think the plants will be happy here. It's a nice warm spot. It'd be interesting to see how the Kang Kong will go just up there, the Kang Kong. It'd be interesting just to see how that goes in this sort of setup. I haven't tried it in quite such a large earthen bed that's flooded all the time. So that's pretty much all it. I would really encourage you, if you've got the climate for it, a warm climate, to have a crack at growing these water chestnuts if you like Asian style stir fries. We've even popped them in stews as well, and they're a nice little crunchy sweetness. It just adds a nice little surprise to them. So have a crack at growing them if you've got the right climate. Subtropical, warm temperate, you can pretty much all get away with it, I think. And if you've got any comments, questions or suggestions, just pop them in the comment section down there and I'll get back to you. Other than that, I hope you have a great one and take it easy. Catch ya!
They look very muddy.
They are.
Is it fun playing in the mud?
It is. Lots of fun playing in the mud.
I wish this fly would get off my eye.
Maybe the fly would like to come join me in the mud.